I'm Jennifer Marie Keller. Welcome to my Diary of a Painter. First day of the week, it's Monday. I'm going to get started. Okay, so I woke up early today and I'm getting started painting earlier than normal, which is great, except for I've noticed that the shadows on my hand are too light, and also some areas in my face, like the shadows, are too light. So you can see the light coming through the blinds there, and I'm holding up my hand and seeing like how I can get the shadow darker, and I actually don't think it's from the blinds. I think it's these windows that don't have blinds over them are hitting this wall right here, and so this light is reflecting back onto me, the shadow part. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover up the top part of the windows like I did here before and see if that stops the bouncing light from getting reflective light and making my shadows too luminous, because I really like that like deep atmospheric dark shadows. So I really want to start painting, but I'm now trying to move this painting along and start keying it properly value-wise, meaning that like I get the lightest lights that I need to and the darkest darks, so I can move to finishing the painting and resolving. And having this light bouncing before had been fine working with the blocking of the piece, but now I'm like moving this painting right along, so I'm gonna take care of the light affecting my shadow and see if that helps. This is the black fabric that I have. I bought patio furniture, and when it was shipped to me, it came wrapped in this thin black fabric that's super easy to tear, so I gotta be careful with it. But in my other studio, I had hung this on the walls because the walls were white, and it worked perfectly to help the light from not bouncing around. And so some of these I've sewn together from my last studio, so I'm gonna hang this up, probably fold them in half, see if that helps to keep the light out more since it is fairly thin. I'm gonna put a small nail on the top of the frame on the window so I can like tear the fabric over the nail so it'll help it stay up. This should be good now, so I'm going to put everything back together and see if this solved my problem or not. My plan is to go, since last week I unified the shadow shape, great place to start this week is then starting on that shadow line, working into the dark half tones into the lights. So today I'm going to be working from the darks into the lights. I'm going to focus on one area, so the forehead. So I'm going to be working around the forehead first, so all the darks in the hair and the shadow that goes across the right side of my forehead, and then also the shadow that's for the eye sockets going up that way. So I'm going to be working on bringing more color into the forehead by going darks into the lights. Putting the cloth up totally worked, so I'm going to study the painting now and make my goals for the day. just mixed up my mixtures. So when I was sitting down, I was mixing up my shadow colors, just ranging from dark going to lighter, using black, yellow ochre, Sennelier red, and then at the end one, it has ultramarine blue in it. And then these colors are just basics from the hair and then a half tone. So that's what I've got on my painting really basically now, and I'm going to start painting and mix up more as I need to be. And I know I'm going to be mixing up a lot more than what I have on my palette because I really want to push the color in the half tones as they're going from shadows to lights. And that will help me then get more color later on as I work more into the lights.
So I start in the hair and start with the shadow shapes in the hair and work from the darks to the lights. That's kind of the theme of the week, working from the darks into the lights. I'm finding these rich colors in the hair like yellow ochres, greens, blues, and cold purpley reds. I'm working to get the hair to be really soft because hair contrasted against flesh and bone is just so soft. So I work the background into the hair and the hair back into the background to get this nice, slow, gradual transition, which will make it appear more soft. Working with the hair and getting the hair to have a richer color, I was able to see the colorful transition, the transitioning tones in the hairline, and it is purple and sometimes kind of this greenish color. And this is the hair transitioning to the skin. And so getting this transition to be as colorful as possible will help so much with getting the lights in the skin to be more colorful, which is what I want. This day, working on the hair took most of my time that day. So I only had just begun working on transitioning from the hair into the face, but I'm at a really great place to start for the next day. And Tuesday and Wednesday were unfortunately not Icarus painting days for me, so jumping to Thursday. Thursday, I start in the forehead, going from the shadows and hairline into the lights in the forehead, so I'm still working from darks into the lights. I'm experimenting and seeing what colors I need, going for rich colors because I felt like the skin was looking so dull. So as I'm moving into the lights in the forehead, it's interesting that when I mix a color on my palette and then even hold that mixture up to the part of my forehead that I'm mixing for, it'll look like I mixed up a right and accurate color. But then when I put that mixture on my painting, it'll look dull. And so I find myself adding more color to the mixtures, especially in the really light areas, until it looks then right on my painting. So sometimes it'll look wrong on my palette or even holding that mixture up to my, like the area that I'm mixing for on my face. Like the color is looking like it's too pink or too yellow or whatever. But I'm finding that really those richer colors are looking best on my painting and helping it to go from like a pale dull color to a more bright, colorful light mixture that's looking right in the area. This was such a fun painting day because I'm feeling more confident with the direction of the painting, and so I'm using more paint on the brush, and so the mark making that I'm making, like the brush strokes, are just so fun to put down now. Because early in the painting process, when I'm still figuring out the values and the colors and everything, I tend to use very little paint on my brush, and it's more like I'm dry brushing, kind of like scumbling the paint on almost. And so it's just so fun when I get to use a lot of paint on my brush. And so then I can start actually making paint strokes, like thicker paint strokes. And then that becomes part of the painting. It's like I'm then adding another structural part of the painting using brush strokes. Friday, I moved down the face, and again I start into the shadows and work my way from the darks into the lights. And so for this day, I start on the left side of the face. So I'm working in the cheek and jaw area. And I'm doing this because this is the largest and most simplest area where I can start. So then when I have those colors and mixtures more figured out for the lower part of the face where it's a bit darker and more cooler, then I can go into the more complicated area, like around the mouth and the nose. So eventually I get everything kind of filled in for that whole lower part of the face area, and I see that the farthest thing away is the glowing lightest lights, which is on the left side of the forehead down into the cheekbone and then that nose area. And so I start to work in these areas to lighten them up, but at the end of the painting session, I think they need to be more colorful because the area is looking lighter, which is good, but perhaps too pale or dull. And so I'm going to look into this next week about making those areas. They need to be more colorful, which will help them have that more luminous, light, glowing appearance that I want. I have a bit of time left, so I work into the hair, brightening things up mostly with the mixtures that I already have on the palette, though I do modify them because they need to be a bit richer working in the hair area. So this then helps me bring more continuity from the hair into the skin. I'm Jennifer Marie Keller. Feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I also have all of my other social media links down below.